So, welcome back, Jamie. I'm so glad you could join me again.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's a pleasure.
All right, so you're in the Midwest. So, how's the weather? I'm from California,
Oh
so I
my
have to
gosh.
ask.
Listen, the weather is beautiful. It's
Really?
beautiful. Yeah, it's Christmas Day. It was 65, 67. It was so, it's just been beautiful. So it hasn't really felt like Christmas, but I mean, we're recording in January, so it hasn't really felt like Christmas, but it is absolutely beautiful, beautiful here. Blue skies, no snow, exactly the way that I like a Midwest winter, which I know it will not continue in that way, but we've been enjoying a lot of park time. How about you? What's it like there? Always wonderful.
It's usually sunny, but I don't know if you watched the Rose Parade, it was raining. It was like the first time and the second time it's rained on, the New Year's Eve. But no, it's been rainy and gross. But I'm glad you
Oh,
mentioned that we're recording in January and that the weather is great because I'm going to get to see you in person again this year. When this drops, we will be at the Bloom and Blossom retreat, hanging
that's
out
exactly
together
right.
in February. So I'm hoping your 70 something weather with no snow continues.
I will hope that for the both of us as well. We will hope together.
I thought I came prepared last year, but apparently I did not dress appropriately.
Listen, when you step out of that airport, that's when you know, oh, I totally dressed incorrectly and I have nothing in my bag that will help me with the
Yeah,
elements that are here in this
yeah.
area.
And I won't tell you if I may or may not have slipped several times on the snow. Yeah. Who would have thought
Mm.
it was so difficult to walk on ice?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Anyway, so for the moms out there who don't know you or they didn't have the pleasure of listening to our first talk we had last season on big emotions and challenging behaviors, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and your sacred ground coaching.
Yes. So I have this really fun background. I was a public school teacher for several years, and then I got my master's in school counseling, became a school counselor. And then I was a school counselor during the pandemic. And that's actually when I started my business, Sacred Ground Coaching, because, the district had shut down, but parents were calling me and saying, "Hey, my kid is not okay. You're their school counselor. Can you help?" So I got permission from my admin to start literally making house calls. And so I would go to these people's homes, and this is why it worked out so beautifully. I am not smart enough to have done this on my own, but everyone was there in the family. Dad was there, mom was there, grandparents were there, all the siblings were there. So then, although I was coming into the home to help a particular student with these, tools, tips, and scripts to help their brain regulate, their body regulate, the whole family was there. So they were all using the tools, they were all learning it together. And I was hooked from the minute that that happened, where I can remember the first family, we all gathered. It was like this idyllic place by the fireplace. Everyone is together, and I'm just teaching them all about their wise owl brain, their watchdog brain, and their possum brain. And then once I saw how quickly that momentum shifted across the
Mhm.
whole family when the entire family was in on the coaching, I was like, oh, this is where the transformation is. This is what I want to do. And so that's actually how Sacred Ground Coaching came about. And now I get to see, I have my own office, and I have families come to me, and I work with parents and kids and helping them regulate and calm those big behaviors and big emotions. So that's the business side of it. I have a husband. His name is Justin. He's a pastor here in the Midwest, and we have two girls, 10 and 12, and we do a homeschool hybrid. So my kiddos are at school 2 days a week, and then they're at home learning with me 3 days a week. And we have a dog. His name is Sparky. Listen, I do feel like Justin and I are pretty okay parents, like I do. We are horrible dog parents. We
Me
have the
too.
most poorly behaved dogs historically. So this dog, he's a Bernedoodle. What is ironic about this dog is that we purchased him for our kids, but I kind of in my brain was like, Bernedoodles are great therapy dogs. They're so great historically. This dog is not. So he's just our goofy Bernedoodle dog named Sparky, and we love him. But he is a goofy, goofy dog. Do you have dogs, Carrie?
Yes. Let's just say I'm really good with boundaries with my kids and with my husband and with relationships, but let's not say with the dog.
I get
So
it.
the dog was supposed to be an emotional support, pet,
Yeah.
but I think he didn't get the memo, and
Mhm.
I'm his emotional support. So
He's just like glued to your hip at all times.
he's glued to my hip at all times. Yes. And so it's kind of a running joke when people come to visit, as soon as they walk in, because he's very protective of me. They all just look at me and go, I know, don't make eye contact with the dog. Yeah,
Oh, that's
sorry.
wonderful. So
Yes,
you
I
feel
call it
it.
my
You
little
feel it.
furry monster. Yes, I
You know,
totally feel it.
you know the pain.
Yep, I do. All right, so I loved our first conversation last season. I think the episode was called Big Emotions and Challenging Behaviors. And I learned so much, not just about my kids, but about me, that I wanted to connect again with you to talk more about creating a calmer home environment, because that's been something that a lot of moms, when I've been meeting with them one on one, that's been coming up a lot. And I thought, I know the perfect person to talk about this with. But now that my husband and I are empty nesters, our house is very quiet. And it's also helping me realize, or remembering, maybe I blocked it out, I don't know, just how chaotic and loud
Mhm.
it used to be. And it wasn't just because of the homeschooling. It was just kind of maybe because we're Italian. I don't know.
Sure.
So I think moving from chaos to calm is every mom's dream, not just a homeschooling mom. So I wanted to have you on and kind of talk about this, since we're moving into a new year. So first, let's tackle the difference between calm and quiet, because according to you, a quiet home doesn't necessarily mean a calm home. So what's
That's
the difference?
exactly right. That's exactly right. So when we say calm, really, that is a short term for regulated. And it actually, honestly, like when I'm doing workshops with training teachers or working with parents, I will always make this identifier. Calm does not mean like this Zen state all day long. That is not realistic. It's not
Really?
practical. Exactly. And that's actually not healthy for our kids to see. That's more robotic, right? So, calm actually, I'm using it synonymously with regulated.
Okay.
Here's what we know about regulation. Okay. If you, I'm not going into the weeds of this, but IFS, internal family systems, it's a therapeutic modality that's very interesting. And one of the foundational pillars of IFS is what they term the 8 C's of the self. Okay. So it's calm, curious, creative, connected, clear, compassionate, all down to these 8 C's of the self. What, with my worldview, I would call that the Holy Spirit, right? So we're regulated, we're in moments we can experience all of those C's of the self. And I can already hear some moms rolling their eyes like, I don't remember the last time I was ever in those 8 C's of the self. And I totally get it. I 100% understand. But when we're looking through that lens of getting regulated, okay, feeling a feeling, and then getting back to my regulated, calm, connected, compassionate state, that honestly has very little to do with volume, right? And so volume is quiet, right? But I mean, so many families, so many mamas out there, they might have a childhood experience where quiet was not calm. When someone was quiet, something was wrong, right? Like mom was about to flip her lid, dad was about to lose it. Like calm was not, or quiet was not a calm, regulated experience. Or maybe, the parents or the kids who have to like walk on eggshells all the time and stay out of the parents' way. That can be quiet and that is not calm and regulated. So I think where we kind of get off track a little bit with putting them both together, like, well, calm means quiet, is because a lot of times moms crave quiet,
Mhm.
right? The younger the kids, the more overstimulating
Mhm.
motherhood is. It is an overstimulating experience. There are so many noises, there are so many smells, there are so many humans always attached on you, right?
Mhm.
That it can be very overstimulating. So many really most of the mamas that I work with, they are craving some quiet time, right? Some pockets of quiet in their day in order to regulate their nervous system. But calm, connected, like let's think of some of those eight C's. Creativity, a lot of times is a lot of mess, loud noises, kids saying, look at this, look what I made, paint going everywhere, whatever it is.
We're a glitter
So,
family.
okay, there you go. There you go. It's like the cosmic joke in my family because my husband literally hates glitter and he has two girls. And so of course we love the glitter. So anyways, so that volume, when you crave the quiet to regulate your nervous system, that is a very real and practical thing, but it does not equate with a calm, centered, regulated self, someone who is experiencing all of those eight C's of the self. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. And when I was preparing for this conversation and I was trying to think of, what is the difference between calm and quiet? Obviously the word regulate didn't come up, but that totally makes sense. But I did have to go back to my childhood. And I was one of those kids, that I just knew as soon as my mom got overly quiet or as soon as I was getting the silent treatment, that wasn't good. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I also grew up in a home where there were just certain things you didn't talk about. So,
Yeah.
like in our last conversation, we were talking about how important it is to communicate those big emotions and how to explain and express them in a way that different ages and stages would be able to do that. That wasn't something that
Mhm.
wasn't even just encouraged, it wasn't allowed. There were just certain
Sure.
things that you didn't talk about. So I love
Absolutely.
the explanation of the difference between the two. So, mamas, keep in mind when she talks about calm, it's regulation, not necessarily the quiet. And I am one of these people. I need my quiet to center.
Mm.
So,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is why it's kind of funny. I would go to the coffee shop to write. I can write
Yeah.
with white noise, but if I need to,
Mhm.
actually like regulate myself and my emotions and come down off of whatever
Yeah.
ledge I'm on, it has to
Yeah.
be quiet.
Absolutely. And I will also speak to the mom out there who might have kind of a quiet home. Like maybe her kiddos are a
Mhm,
little bit quiet.
mhm, mhm.
That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. That doesn't
Right,
mean that
right.
you're not regulated and calm. Every
Mhm,
environment is different. I do always love those. Have you seen those foot mats where it's like, please pardon the noise. I'm
mhm,
raising kids in
mhm,
here or whatever.
mhm.
So we would be one of those homes for sure. But my point is that if you are, I do want to give like the mamas out there who are like, yeah, but I need quiet. This is overstimulating. And you can probably speak to this as well, Carrie. But for me, when our kids were younger, like around 4 to probably 7, and I still crave the quiet, but now it's an easier quiet. Like my mornings, I wake up very early and I can have a quiet morning. But when they're little, there are days, seasons that you cannot do that.
Mhm.
So for the mama out there who's like, I'm not regulated. I don't remember the last time I experienced a single 8C that you just said of the self. For that mama, something very practical is implementing a quiet time in your house. It is a very practical thing that you can start doing. Start with 10 minutes. But here's the deal. You do have to model and you have to say like, okay, we're going to do some quiet time because mom's brain and my nervous system, I would like to get regulated in the afternoon. So for 10 minutes, this is what I'm going to use my quiet time for. I'm going to read quietly. And maybe you do it together as a family for a couple of days. They get the hang of it of like, oh, I could do Play Doh, I could do drawing, whatever.
Mhm.
But then you kind of widen that circle and you're like, okay, now we're going to try quiet time. I'm going to be in the living room. You're going to be in the kitchen. You're going to be, you'll be on the back porch, whatever. So that was a very, very helpful thing for me when I did crave that quiet and my nervous system by like 3 p.m. I either needed 8 cups of coffee or I needed quiet time, like
You
one or
needed
the other.
both.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if we're being honest, I did that. So yeah, I needed quiet while I chugged my 8 cups of coffee.
Mhm, mhm.
So that's something that's really practical because it is true that many of our nervous systems do crave that quiet. So let's implement a 10-minute, 20-minute based on your kids, age and stage. They can handle that. And that's actually a really great practice and habit to help them because they
Mhm,
need quiet too. Our spirits, our
mhm.
brains, our bodies, they need quiet
Yep.
in little, spurts.
Yep. I'm glad you brought that up. And I promise, guys, I didn't tell Jamie to do this, but one of the chapters, a whole chapter in my upcoming book, is called Today Did We Rest? And it's all about
Yes.
including 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of time for everyone in the family to rest, no matter what that looks like, right?
Yep.
For again, their age or their personality or,
Mhm.
whatever. So it really is. So thanks for bringing that up.
Absolutely. I love it that you wrote a chapter. I cannot wait to read your book.
Thanks. Okay, so you often talk about how connections can transform the way that we discipline. I love that. But what exactly do you mean by that?
So, when I am working with parents and we're talking about discipline, it is very important that we get a working definition of discipline because it
Mhm.
is like one of those things where we are all using the same dictionary, but we're using the same word, totally different dictionary, right? So, it's really pivotal that you, whether you're a single mama or you have a co-parent, that you have that conversation. What is our goal for discipline, right? So number one, for Justin and I, our goal for discipline is that we are guiding these kids into responsible, autonomous decision makers. That is our goal for discipline. If my definition of discipline is punishment, it's going to be totally different. The way that I respond to my kids' behaviors will be totally different. I'm really wanting to disciple them, right? To help them understand, hey, your choices have consequences and here's what you can do differently next time in order to make a better choice, make a different choice. So that's foundational. So I would say anyone out there who hasn't had the conversation, which many people haven't, because it's a kind of an odd, we all just assume that we're speaking
Talking
the
about
same
the same thing.
language. Right? Exactly. So
Hmm.
that's foundational to really get a working definition of what is discipline in our home. And then I don't know how common this is because I'm just in the weeds of like coaching and emotional wellness and kiddos and parents. But have you ever heard of connect before you correct?
Hmm.
Okay, great. So that idea of we have to connect with our kids before we correct, and connect can literally just look like eye contact, not the side eye, like kind eyes, right? Like I get eye contact with my child and I look at them with gentle eyes, right? And then I might say, like, gosh, I know that you really, really wanted that video game controller. I can tell you wanted it because you punched your brother for it. I totally get it. And also, we cannot, I will not let you punch your brother for that. So it's that it's correct or it's connecting with them through eye contact with empathy and then correcting, right?
Hmm.
So that connection also though, when I'm thinking through that lens of like I'm guiding my kids to become responsible autonomous decision makers, okay, well, that means that we're going to be connecting through a lot of coaching conversations, right? It is not just like a go to your room and think about what you did. What do we think kids are thinking about in that moment? They're
I
not
hate
thinking,
mom.
gosh, that's what they're thinking. They're not thinking, gosh, she's right. I messed up. I'm going to go down and apologize. Like, they're not thinking that, right? They've got to be coached through these things.
Hmm.
So really leaning into, okay, connect and then correct. That's where you really start to see those behaviors shift, and not just behaviors shift, but truly my whole thing that when I'm working with families, I call it the sacred ground framework. And it's the apple tree. The apples are the behaviors and emotions that we're seeing. The roots are that's where those roots are driving all behavior and all actions for everybody. So we really get down to the root system, and there's 5 roots. It's beliefs, balance, boundaries, brain, and body. And we heal that root system, and then the fruit takes care of itself over time. So when you're looking at it through that lens, and listen, for a lot of people, it's totally different because many of us were raised as like an obey without delay or just punishment over and over and over again. Okay. And it's just behavior modification. But really, when you get down to the roots of it, and you heal those roots, then you start to see the fruit of it. You're like, oh my gosh, like they totally rocked that. Even when I wasn't back in the backyard, I heard my child say to that other kiddo, hey, we all need to take turns. A summer ago, that same kid would have like hauled off and punched the kid. But because I'm disciplining my child, I'm coaching them to become responsible, autonomous decision makers,
Mhm.
then you get wins like that.
And I'm so glad you brought up the just how simple it is just to make eye contact, but also what that eye contact looks like. I won't say which child, but one child used to tell me all the time, and I'd say, "No, I'm fine." And he or she would say, "You should tell your face to catch up then."
Gosh, what did you say? Did that make it worse?
Makes
Oh
me
my word, that would have made it. Oh, well,
laugh.
I
I was one of
love
those
that.
parents where I knew exactly where this kid was coming from because I was that kid, right? So when those comments
Yeah.
would come, it took everything for me to and not laugh hysterically. But no, just the
Oh.
idea of making eye contact and connecting with them so that, I mean, really all any of us want, but especially what our kids want, is to be known that they're heard and that
Mhm,
they're really seen. And
mhm,
even though we may not understand exactly the feelings they're having or why they're having it, just the fact that we can get down on their level and say, I totally get it, how frustrated you are right now. And just having someone actually acknowledge that the feelings aren't bad. And you've said this in
mhm,
the past episode we did together. The feelings are not bad. It's
mhm.
what we choose to do with
That's
those
right.
feelings. So,
That's right. Yeah.
all right, I love it. So connect before we correct. That's off. I love all your alliteration, your
I'm a
B's for
sucker.
your roots.
I'm a
I know, me
sucker for that's my
too.
elementary ed background. I am a sucker for alliteration. You give me a good bulletin board to
Hmm.
decorate
Me
and
too.
anything with alliteration, I'm yours forever.
Me
Just love
too.
languages.
Alliteration and Oxford commas. That's me. All right.
Hey, Oxford commas is random. That's very random.
I'm a random kind of a girl. All
I
right.
love it.
All right. So because of time, I want to make sure we get through some of these. So, what are some, okay, now that gave us some really good practical tips so far, but what are some simple practices that families can start doing today, to help them with these connections that will help create a calmer family dynamic? So we got the eye contact.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
So listen, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna harp on screens here.
Okay.
Okay. Just brace yourself. Okay. Here's all I'm asking. I just would invite you to have some spaces and some time in your day that is a no screen zone. That is one of the quickest ways to build connection. Families, that connection is built over storytelling, laughter, inside jokes. Those do not happen over a dinner table or a picnic blanket or whatever when we are all looking down at our screens. So that is something very, very practical. Now, also hear me. I am a parent. I get it. I totally understand when you're like, listen, I got to get those emails sent out. I got to get that laundry done for sure. Put on a bluey, whatever that looks like for you. But that is one thing that we have done very intentionally. Dinners, no matter at restaurants, wherever we are, there's no screens ever, adults or kids. And that is where we have really meaningful conversations. And what is so funny, not funny, it's kind of sad, but we have had several people come up to us at restaurants and they notice, they're like, "Hey, we just want you to know that we see you not being on your phones." Isn't that crazy, Carrie? That like it's just so cultural now. But
Mhm.
so screen times for one, have some no screen zones, either in a place, a room, or during a time of day. Exactly. The other thing for connection is getting outside together.
Mhm.
Getting outside, that is a very practical when your kids are little, especially, but teenagers need outside body movement as well. We all need vitamin D. We all need those big body movements for
Mhm.
emotional regulation. So going outside, going to the park, or just literally like our favorite thing to do, we live on a cul-de-sac. Our kids like play all over the neighborhood within the cul-de-sac some days, but I just sit outside and I read, right? And they'll come in and they'll be like, "Hey, can we play this game or whatever?" And I'm like, "Sure, absolutely." So these little just rhythms of your day that are going to build just like these overarching stories, right? So many times when I'm working with moms and they have like a guilt or a shame around like I'm not a good mom. I think it's really important for us to understand that our we don't necessarily like when we think of mom or dad, it is not typically like lots of little moments. It's actually like a neural map, right? It's like this, it's a bundle of memories, but we call it like neuroscientists would call it a neural map. And it's all these little moments that add up into fast forward 30 years and our kids are looking back and they're like, gosh, we always spent a lot of time outside, right? They don't remember like little itty bitty moments because that's not how memory works typically, right? So knowing that these little moments are going to add up, eye contact, lots of laughter, anytime that you can be in those 8 C's of the self, be curious. Oh my word, curiosity is going to lead to so much connection with your kids. Ask twice as many questions when they come to you for advice. It's like that 80-20 rule. I really have to remind myself 80-20, 80-20, Jamie. I want my kid speaking 80% of the time, and I will speak 20% of the time with guiding questions, especially as they hit like middle school and there's like these
Mhm.
social questions and questions about like, I think he has a crush on her and all the things. I am ears open, mouth closed. The only thing I am going to say is like, okay, and say more about that. Oh, okay, what do you think about that? Because I want my little kid's brain to be doing more work than what my brain is doing. So those moments of connection time are huge.
I love that. And we're going to talk more about the mom, like you'd said, the moms who feel guilty. Yeah, I was always one of those.
Mm,
But before that, I wanted to make sure you probably already read this book because you were at the Bloom and Blossom last year. But for
yeah.
the moms who haven't, another great book that kind of talks, not kind of, it's all about what Jamie was saying with the screen times. And we're not bashing screen times, but it's by Erin Lochner called The Opt Out Family. And I love the tagline. It's what you can give your kids that technology can't. And it's all about what you just said, just the simple things about when you put your phone down, or
Mm,
you close up the computer, or like in our house, the rule was they couldn't watch any kind of TV or screens because we didn't have phones when my kids were younger, but screen
right.
time until after 4 o'clock. So like it wasn't just something that they got to do all day long. But the idea of just going outside and being in nature and exercising as opposed to using your screen, which is why I will say the 80s was the best time to grow up. Because I'm one of those kids. When I think about my childhood, I don't think about specific memories. I think about just how much we were outdoors.
Yeah.
And the expression was, I'll see you when the lights come on, because that's when you were
Mhm.
expected to be back home. And, we were
Yeah.
just outside, being
Yeah.
curious and creative all day long.
Mhm.
So I love that. All right. So we are running out of time, but I want to make sure I get to this question about moms. So let's not forget about the moms, because we are the thermostat.
We
Of
sure
our
are.
homes. So if we're feeling like life is chaotic, that's going to spill over into the home environment, and into our interactions with our loved ones. So you already mentioned making sure we have some quiet time, whatever that looks like for us. But do you have some other just few small shifts or practices that moms can do to calm not just the home, but to calm their hearts and to calm their minds?
Yeah. So I want to speak into this just a little bit more of that Zen-like quality that so many people just assume. Here is what a regulated person can look like. A regulated mom can look like. She looks like someone who feels frustrated, feels that spike of that. I call it waves because emotions are just energy and motion in our body. So she'll feel frustrated, but then, and she can allow her kids to see that. It's healthy to let your kids see that.
Mhm.
She feels a frustrate wave of frustration, and then she comes back to that regulated state. So, first off, to the mom out there who is like, there's no part of me that feels calm. Please understand that that's okay, right? Like it's totally fine. You're listening to this podcast for a reason, and my hope is that you get one really practical next step. So we're going to feel that wave, and then we're going to come back to a regulated state. That's the goal. The goal is not that just robot zen all day long. So practically, even with your kids, okay, I always go back to Maslow's. Always. Are you fueled with good food? Are you watered? Do you have water in your belly? That is, it's like our brains are like, depending on the research, it's like 75 to 83% water. So, so many of us are dehydrated. So, do you have food in your belly? Good. And not just like that you're picking off the veggies off of your kid's plate and because you haven't sat down, which listen, I get it. There are seasons like that. Do you have enough water? Have you slept? And again, that is like for some mamas out there who have babies, you're like, no, I haven't slept because they need a nurse every single 3 hours or whatever.
Mhm.
So, out of those, though, when you're thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what can I do? Okay, if nothing else, drink water, drink it through a straw, even better. It'll calm your vagus nerve. So, drink water through a straw, get good fuel in your body, get sunshine if you can, go like very practical, simple. And here's the deal. You might be listening to me right now and you're like rolling your eyes like that there's no way. I know they sound so simple, but they're very hard to do in the moment. In the moment, your brain, in the moment of a meltdown, when you're like, I just want to pull my hair out because there's so much going on in this room right this second, your brain is not going to be like, oh, that lady said to go get sunshine. Go out and get sunshine. Your brain is not going to say that. You're going to have to, like, your brain's going to be like, that's stupid. That won't work. So just know that it's no big deal. Like, our brains are wired to do that. It's totally fine. But you're going to tell your brain, no, I'm putting my shoes on. Or even better, if it's nice outside, go barefoot, go
Mhm.
ground outside in the grass.
Mhm.
Go outside just 5 minutes, 5 seconds, whatever you have. But really asking yourself in this moment, I do the practice hand to heart, hand to belly, deep breath. What do I need right now, right this minute? And I am telling you, I mean, for me, 10 times out of 10, it is a Maslow's item. What do I need? I need water. What do I need? I need an apple and peanut butter. What do I need? I need sunshine. Like it is a very simple practice, hand to heart, hand to belly, deep belly breath. Man, if you model that for your kids, you are on your way to more calm and more connection in your family.
Happy mama, happy home. I'm glad you brought up the barefoot because I was going to suggest that. And people sometimes they think that's crazy, but when you go outside and you're able to, depending on the weather, and you just put your feet in grass, or in my case, feet on sand, there's just something about that,
Mhm.
it just brings
Yeah.
back good memories. It's calming, it's centering, it's really cool. So I love that. And I love how you didn't give like this list of read this and do that. It was very practical. I can do this right now if my brain will allow me to think about it.
That's so good. Okay. And oh, I'm so glad you said that
Yeah.
because that's a good point. I will tell moms to write 3 things on a post-it note and put it on your refrigerator. Drink water, eat an apple, go barefoot. Whatever your 3 are that are like, these are my go-to. Your brain cannot expend more energy in a moment of an almost meltdown from you, let alone your kids.
Mhm.
So put that on the refrigerator so that you can just go. You don't have to expend any mental energy. It's like, oh, the post-it note told me to do this. I'm going to do this. Okay, hand on heart, hand on belly. Am I better? Do I feel calmer, regulated? No, I still feel like I want to punch a hole in the wall. Okay, cool. Go do number 2 on the post-it note. So put that, like, give yourself that scaffolding, those
Mhm.
reminders, because in the moment of a meltdown, your brain is not going to want to do anything. It's not even going to be able to think of anything to do.
Mhm. I love that. My husband, you and my husband would get along really well because his cure all, we tease him all the time, is drink water. I mean, you have a stomach ache, drink water. You have a headache, drink water. You're constipated,
Mhm.
drink water. Your
I
toe
cannot tell
hurts,
you.
or in my case, my hamstring hurts because I got run over by a dog, drink water.
Listen,
Okay.
I'm with your husband. I'm your team husband. Here, it is so funny because there's a meme around, oh, not a meme, but it's like a reel of like this husband chasing his wife, and she's like, "I have a headache," and he's like, "Here's water," and he aggressively does it. I have had so many clients send that to me on Instagram because they're like, "This is you," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is me because you're not drinking enough water."
All right, I'll make sure I drink some water today, Jamie.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Sorry, I yelled. I get
No
real fired up
problem.
about water.
No problem. Okay, we actually we just totally ran out of time. So before we leave, can you tell the moms a little bit more about what you do, how they can connect with you, about your new podcast that you have? Because I want them to go and listen to you every single day.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Yes, my website is sacredgroundcoaching.com. When you go to that website, I have a 5 video series of like, hey, here are the foundational steps for you to get some emotional wellness into your family. Emotional wellness coaching is truly the quickest way for a more calm, more connected family. So that 5 video series is going to walk you through here are the 5 foundational steps. So that's number one. I'm also on Instagram, Sacred Ground Coaching. Um, and then what was the last thing you asked me?
Your
Oh
podcast.
my gosh, my podcast.
And how
Carrie.
people can connect with you if they want more
Yes,
one-on-one,
yes,
not
yes.
just the video.
Absolutely. So my podcast is called Emotions with Ease. I'm currently on episode 25, and it has been so super duper fun. So we talk about tools, tips, and scripts to move through big behaviors, big emotions like anxiety, anger, impulse control, all those fun things. And honestly, sacredgroundcoaching.com, that is the best way to get a hold of me. There is a button at the top that says book a free call. So anybody that is interested in like something has piqued your curiosity, or you're like, well, I need to know more about that specific tool, book a free call. You get to get on the calendar. You can choose the time and the day, and we'll chat and see if I can support you. If you're out of state, I can support you over Zoom. And if you are in state, if you're local, then I can work with your sweet little family.
I love it. I can't wait to see you. I'm
I
going to say
know.
tomorrow because I know this is going to drop right before the Bloom and Blossom, but I can't wait to hang out with you and see you in Springfield at the Bloom and Blossom retreat. So thanks for joining me.
It'll be great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.